Dear students, welcome back to the series of geography. Today's topic is resources and environment interface. In my last episode, I have discussed about the meaning, nature and components of resources and environment, wherein environment is a comprehensive term which in general refers to surroundings. It includes abiotic, that is physical, land, air and water, and biotic plants and animals including man and his several functions, organizations and institution components of the life supporting layer, the biosphere. The earth is the only known planet having different kinds of life forms wherein there are complex sets of interrelationships between the physical and biological components. Dear students, in this episode, we are going to discuss on the topic resources and environment interface. The environmental studies enlighten us about the importance of protection and conservation and our indiscriminate release of pollution into the environment. At present, a great number of environmental issues have grown in size and complexity day by day, threatening the survival of mankind on earth. Dear students, let us discuss the environment and resource interface in detail. This episode consists of the following modules: 1. Natural resources. 2nd, principle of resources. 3rd, use of resources and its impact on environment. 4th, is environment changing? And 5th, interface of environment with resources. No organism is sufficient unto itself. From the minute bacterium to the largest tree or whale, everything on the earth lives in and is dependent on any external environment. This environment includes all the external physical and biological factors that affect organism. The relationship between an organism and its environment is mutual, for just as the environment affects the organism, so the organism in turn produces changes in the environment. All the population of plant, animals in any area form a community. The population in a community falls into 3 broad classes: producers, consumers and decomposers. The producers are the autotrophs, chiefly the green plants that convert the energy of sunlight into chemical energy and build inorganic substances into organic compounds. The consumer includes the animals, herbivorous and carnivorous, which depend on plant and animals. The decomposers are the bacteria and fungi that break down organic remains into inorganic substances. Natural resources are the earth's natural material that sustain all species including human beings. They are their goods and services produced by the earth's natural process which support all life and all economies. There are no substitute for many of the natural resources such as air, water and biodiversity. Human beings depend for their needs, necessity and wants on natural resources. Every product we use and produce is derived from one or more natural resources. As a result, our continued existence as well as the lifestyle we maintain is directly related to the abundance, availability and quality of these raw materials as well as our ability to obtain them. Next, let us discuss about the principles of resources. The very fundamental principle of resources is that resources, even renewable, are finite. For example, air and water are in abundance and are very much renewable, but when they are polluted and degraded, they become unusable and non-renewable and become very difficult to restore the original quality of air and water if they have been degraded beyond a certain critical limit. Now, uses of resources and its impact on environment. Our health and the well-being of the current and future generations are inextricably linked to the quality of our air, water, soil and biological resources. These resources are inseparable from our culture and inspire art and literature. Natural resources have an intrinsic value that is important for their own sake regardless of their economic value. The resources are fundamental base for the economic growth and development of human society, but their withdrawal from the nature, mode of their uses by human beings and their disposal have enormous adverse effect on the environment. It is thus imperative to study the linkages between resource use and the environment so that proper management of resources, both effective resources and resources out of place or waste material after use, and remedial measures of environmental pollution and degradation arising out of resource use and disposal of waste materials may be made possible. Two aspects of resources are of most concern to the present society and for the future generations, which are available in the environment. They are majority of the raw materials of the industries, mainly metals, have formed and accumulated over long period of time, millions of years, through exceedingly slow geological process, but they are being consumed at present at an alarming rate. This may result in low supply of certain key minerals or even in complete depletion. Thus arises the question of adequacy and inadequacy of certain key minerals which the present society must take note of. The withdrawal and use of minerals have immense impact upon the environment. For example, extraction of minerals creates pits and scales on the earth's surface, which ultimately causes surface collapse and subsidence. Certain industrial minerals such as metals becomes waste after their use. The disposal of such waste materials into water and soil pollutes them, and in few cases the resultant pollution becomes hazardous to human society and other organisms of biospheric ecosystem. The second type of industrial resources includes fossil fuels such as mineral oil, natural gas and coal. These resources are also finite and have accumulated over a long period of time. These resources are being used at a very fast rate, and there is very likelihood that we will run out of these resources within a few hundred years or even less. These resources are used for the supply of most of energy in the industrial, transport and domestic sectors. The conversion of mineral oils, natural gases and coal pollutes the atmosphere. The very composition of the atmosphere in terms of natural gases composition is altered and modified, which consequently affects the atmospheric process. For example, emission of carbon dioxide through human volcanoes increases the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which in turn increases the greenhouse effect of the atmosphere, resulting into rise of temperature at the earth's surface and consequent changes in the radiation or heat balance of the earth. The use of petroleum in the operation of motor cars, trucks, rail engines and aircrafts releases nitrogen oxide into the atmosphere, which may deplete the ozone, which is very vital for all types of life on the earth, because depletion in ozone may allow ultraviolet solar rays to reach the earth's surface. This may result in the rise of temperature and thus alteration of terrestrial heat balance. The release of sulfur dioxide in the air by combustion of fossil fuels causes acid rains. Now let us discuss about the influence of environment on mankind. According to Kurt Lewin, environment is of three types which influences the personality of an individual as under: physical environment, social and cultural environment and psychological environment. This may be explained as under: physical environment. Physical environment refers to geographical climate and weather or physical conditions wherein an individual lives. The human races are greatly influenced by the climate. Some examples are as under: in the cold countries, that is in European countries, the people are of white color. Likewise, in Asia and African countries, that is in hot countries, people are of dark complexion. The physique of an individual depends on climate conditions as the individual tries to adjust in his physical environment. The human working efficiency also depends on the climatic conditions. Now let us discuss the social environment. The social environment includes an individual's social, economic and political condition wherein he lives. The moral, cultural and emotional forces influence the life and nature of individual behavior. Society may be classified into two categories as under: 1. An open society is very conducive for the individual development. Second, a closed society that includes evil traditions is not very conducive for the development. Psychological environment. Although physical and social environment are common to the individual in a specific situation, yet every individual has his own psychological environment in which he lives. Kurt Lewin has used the term life space for explaining psychological environment. If a person is unable to overcome the barriers, he can either get frustrated or completed to change his goal for a new psychological environment. But adopting this mechanism, the individual is helped in his adjustment to the environment. The following figure shows the various factors like social science, economic factors, development factors, technology, policy related factors and psychological factors influencing on environment. Is environment changing? The answer is yes. Earth resources are utilized and sometimes misused for the industrial enhancement, economic development, to eradicate poverty and to improve the standard of living. In this process, even new substances are introduced into the air, water and soil, and these new substances are the result of human activities and natural calamities. The most dangerous radioactive substance spewed into the atmosphere by nuclear explosions. Though it is essential in some respect, these dangerous radioactive substances fall on the Earth's surface under the impact of precipitation and enters into the soil, and thereafter they are circulated into the plants. Plants, animals and microorganisms are interdependent on each other and on the environment for their basic necessities like air, water and nutrients. These interdependence lead to interactions within organisms and the environment. An ecosystem is a community of organisms involved in a dynamic network of biological, chemical and physical interactions between themselves and with non-living components. Such interactions sustain the system and allow it to respond to changing conditions. An ecosystem includes the various life forms and also the non-living components like the air, soil, rocks, water, etc., and even sun's energy that gets captured by the plants. Misleading of resources and negligence of the upkeep of the resources also affect the environment adversely. The social, cultural and natural environments for all of us constitutes our immediate surroundings. Individuals, family, communities, religious, educational, economic and political institutions make our social environment. These institutions are broadest organizers of individuals. The values, traditions, norms, customs, arts, history, folklore practiced and followed by individuals who are unified by race, ethnicity, language, nationality or religion makes up the socio-cultural environment. Our environment also consists of plant and animal life, air, water, soil, landforms and climate all constitutes the natural environment. Human-made structures like roads, buildings, bridges, industries, parks, etc. constitute the built environment or human-made environment. In the last part, let us discuss about the interface of the environment with resources. Variable factors in the environment. The physical factors in the environment may vary extensively. Temperature, light, humidity and air currents change not only from time to time but also from place to place. An organism is able to adapt its physical environment in all respects. The different races of man show adaptations to the different temperatures of the regions in which they evolved. The nature of the soil, barometric pressure, tides, and a host of other factors are all major environmental factors for some organism. The physical environment and its variables are the utmost importance to all living things, for it is the ultimate life-giving source to them. Environment and resources have interrelationships. The natural resources endowment in the earth is limited. Physical, biological and cultural environment is totally controlled by the resources. The unplanned exploitation of natural resources lead to pollution of all types, and degraded environment seriously affect the health of all living things on the earth. The study of environment has become significant because it is a treasury of resources. For the very survival of mankind, the environmental resources should be well conserved. There are some challenges before us for the cordial interface of the environment and resources. Some of these challenges are as under: growing population. Though the population is considered as an important resource, the growth of world population and production combined with unsustainable consumption patterns places increasingly severe stress on the life supporting capacities of our planet. These interactive processes affect the use of land, water, air, energy and other resources. Human needs can be fulfilled from the biosphere provided that its capacity for renewals are not impaired. Population of over thousands of millions is growing at 2.1% every year. Over 17 million people are added each year. It puts considerable pressure on its natural resources and reduces the gains of development. Hence, the greatest challenge before us is to limit the population growth. Although the population control does automatically lead to development, yet the development leads to a decrease in population growth rate. Second is the poverty. The poverty and environmental degradation has an axis between them. The vast majority of our people are directly dependent on the natural resources of the country for their basic needs of food, fuel, shelter and fodder. About 40% of our people are still below the poverty line. Environment degradation has adversely affected the poor who depend upon the resources for their immediate surroundings. Thus, the challenge of poverty and the challenge of environment degradation are two facts of the same challenge. The population growth is essentially a function of poverty, because to the very poor, every child is an earner and helper, and global concerns have little relevance for him. Agricultural growth. The people must be acquainted with the methods to sustain and increase agricultural growth with damaging the environment. High yielding varieties have caused soil salinity and damage to physical structure of soil. Development and forests. Forests serve catchments for the rivers. With increasing demand of water, plan to harness the mighty rivers through large irrigation projects were made. Certainly, this would be submergence forest, deplace local people, damage flora and fauna. These areas are to be brought back under vegetative cover. Degradation of land. At present, out of total 329 million hectares of land, only 266 million hectares possesses potential for production. Before sum up this topic, I would like to recapture once again some important points to your notice. Natural resources have been considered by many to be a pre-existing endowment that is available for human exploitation. This includes all natural resources available in nature. To meet the needs and wants of mankind, natural resources are obtained from atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere and biosphere surroundings of the earth. It is essential to make the public aware of the formidable consequences of the environmental degradation. If not retorted and reformative measures undertaken would result in the extinction of life.